Welcome back to Bullet Catcher Gaming. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to support us or this channel. This video is a retrospective review of Ghost Recon Wildlands. I felt now was a good time to do this, especially due to the recent final update to the game, which was a very large 30 gigabyte or so update to bug fix all the kind of final issues. I'll be detailing what was kind of promised from Ubisoft from this game to what we eventually got in the end, including some of those things missing from the game that eventually made their way into Ghost Recon Breakpoint 2 years later. I would really appreciate any feedback in the comments below regarding your thoughts on the Ghost Recon franchise as a whole, and especially Wildlands. Now, let's get started. Ghost Recon Wildlands is, of course, a Ubisoft game published in March 2017, which consisted of a massive open world map, promising multiple ways of delivering on the objectives available, whether you loved stealth gameplay, single player, team ups with online buddies to kind of go all in, kind of guns blazing onto the objective, those type of things. Lots of different ways to get to the objective. The game released to fairly decent reviews across the board and currently has a 70 review score on Metacritic, along with a 6.3 user score. So that's above average. It's a decent score. I believe the last sales figures put sales somewhere between the 12 and 14 million mark, which makes this game no slouch in the sales department. You know, after all, it did sell enough to greenlight a sequel. Now, before I go any further, I will say right now that personally, this game means a lot to me. I was due an operation in hospital, of course. Where else would you have one? And being nervous about the surgery a few days before, the beta became available on the Friday evening. And I played it for about 5 hours. And I'll be honest, 5 of the best hours of gaming I've experienced this generation. It was exhilarating. I had so much fun. I laughed so much. It was great. It helped me keep my mind off things. Then after my surgery that weekend, the game dropped through my front door just as I came out of hospital, and in time for 2 months worth of recuperation. This game helped boredom at bay. It saved my mind, you could say, from daytime TV and other such ills. I'd play missions at night with friends online, and during the day we'd just run around collecting everything I could and discovering the world, Ubisoft had given us to play around in. And I loved every second of it, even the AI teammates, which I know were a true kind of love-hate aspect of this game. So we all know what the game was about, obviously, taking down Santa Blanca and El Sueño and his many lieutenants across the beautiful backdrop of Bolivia. I don't really need to go into the story right now, as I'm sure you've played it. And if you haven't played it, then why are you watching this? Go and pick it up now and play it. Well, Bolivia, obviously, as we know, is the beating heart of the game. The scenery and the biomes available are stunning. To the snow-capped mountains, to the harsh swamplands. The game scenery does kind of feel alive. Like those moments in a kind of dark forest as the sun is fading, night draws in, and lightning is raging on the skies as rain pours down from above. It just kind of grabs you immediately. And you think, like, as you silently take down an enemy with your green tinted NVGs lighting up what would be like a pitch black moment, wow, this feels like intense, as intense like a PS2 SOCOM moment. And if you've played SOCOM, you know exactly what I mean. When the game was shown off on numerous occasions at E3 and other such events, it promised the variety of ways I mentioned earlier of dealing with objectives, and I personally believe they nailed this. Parachuting into an objective in the dead of night with thermal vision on is just too much fun. Now, regarding those E3 trailers, quite a few people were not happy with the final look of the game compared to those trailers. You know, and also this criticism really started when the beta arrived those few days before the game's release. Now, personally, I thought the graphics were quite stunning for an open world game, and I had zero issues with this, especially after upgrading from basic PS4 to PS4 Pro, where I really noticed a huge jump in the kind of crispness of the overall graphics, and background environmental details kind of improved hugely. Now, anyway, forget that. Now to the game itself. What did we get? Well, we got a boatload of story missions, that kept you going for ages, and side missions such as faction support, things like that. There were plenty of these to kind of keep you playing for months, basically, especially on a high difficulty level. I mean, we were given all sorts of things like vehicles and planes, helicopters, different cars and bikes, even like APCs and stuff like that to move around the map in. And of course, you unlocked more of the map. You could then jump to certain locations. And I truly believe the number of these locations you could jump to was absolutely perfect. It still meant that, vehicles were needed to maneuver around the map to objectives and locations, mission storyline plots, needed that movement. This is one issue that actually bothers me slightly in Breakpoint, that there are too many bivouacs, that ground vehicles are almost kind of rendered void. Though check out our Breakpoint and Wildlands videos for our races across the map in both games to see just how much fun vehicle play can be. Sorry about the shameless plug. Moving on. Let's talk weapons. So Ghost Recon Wildlands had one of, or if not, the best customization in any game of this generation. Yes, later on some weapons were hidden behind paywalls, but who cares, because my god, there were so many weapons to choose from. Seriously, everything you could think of basically was there. I spent hours tweaking weapon parts and hunting down weapons I desperately wanted stashed in like heavily armed bases. And come on, who didn't search online, Google a weapon that they desperately wanted so they could head straight off to find it? We all did it. Admit it. Every single one of us. Well, I did. The character customization was also second to none too, with more gear pieces being added as the game went along. Being able to swap outfits as well, depending on the terrain conditions, was absolutely awesome. It was a beautiful touch by the developers, swapping from that desert to that snow to whatever it was you wanted. It just was perfect. Now, some of the criticisms this game got was that it was repetitive. Something I don't agree with, really. That's just me. I mean, some of the missions felt similar, but as far as I'm concerned, if there are multiple ways you can do those missions, which there were, that doesn't bother me at all. I love switching between stealth and then all-out warfare in the open. I've finished this game at least 3 times and spent hundreds of hours just having fun on it. At one point, myself and some friends tried to break the sniper record, or the one that we could find online anyway for records management, and we broke the 3,000 kilometer kill shot, sniper kill shot, should I say. A few people insisted that it was not legit, as we were holding the Santa Blanca guy in place and not letting him run around. But if you'd let him run around, you'd never ever have made that shot. It's impossible. But things like that, just fun little things to do, trying to stop the train and all sorts of fun things that we could come up with, because this world was just had so much to offer. By the way, we've done videos on both of those and they're still up on the channel too if you fancy watching them. So what were other criticisms? I mean, you've got the usual. I mean, there was glitching into rocks and falling through the world, which can happen in any kind of open world games. I only ever got stuck twice, where I could not get myself out of on rocks. I can remember that. Yeah, just the twice. And I don't think that's that bad in all the hours that I put in. I was once driving an ambulance along the road and it randomly vanished whilst I was in it. But that's about it for glitches for me. Never saw any of the flying cars people talked about online or game crashes for that matter. The AI companions was something that bothered a lot of people. I loved them, but I could see their flaws, of course. Stealthily moving through a compound as they walk in the open for all the bad guys to see them, yet they didn't get seen at all. And I could just continue through the base as if nothing had happened. Immersion breaking? Possibly, slightly, but not enough to bother me too much. I can forgive that anyway. And of course, Ubisoft added the option of removing them the following year in an update. They were listening to us, which is great. I'm really glad they did. AI Teammates was, of course, perfect for lining up those always epic sync shots. And although some were not fussed about this, the ability to customize your teammates meant the world to me when this was added a year later. Because now my whole team looked badass instead of just my character. We also got the Tier 1 mode added, which was a ton of fun and was a challenge until they then added Ghost mode, which I'm not afraid to admit I have not finished, as I was randomly killed one day by a passing motorist as I crossed the street, which happens in this game. You know, if you did complete Ghost mode, by the way, and you got that really cool badass suit, then hats off to you, well done. Let's not forget also the absolutely great and totally out of left field Guerrilla mode, which I thought was epic and came at a time when I thought the game was finished with. Wave-based survival was a favourite of mine ever since Modern Warfare 3. The game, of course, added Ghost War, which many wanted at launch and did take some time coming, but seemed to enjoy it quite a bit with new maps being added as it went along. I'm not a PvP player really, so I can't comment too much on this. And then, of course, they added Mercenaries mode, which was a kind of, Battle Royale type kind of game. I tried it, it wasn't for me, but I appreciate them putting in it nonetheless. It just seems that every time we saw the community not happy, Ubisoft did try and fix that and listen, which can only be a good thing. And after the issues people talked about with Breakpoint and its gear score system, they were listening. And, even in Breakpoint, I think, the future will be rosy. There's an update coming to remove that and do kind of the opposite of Wildlands by adding AI teammates to the game. Now, should a gear score system be in a Ghost Recon game? That's up for debate, of course, and please comment below with your take on that. I'll be really interested to hear what you think. I don't think myself, personally, it was necessary, but I also don't find it too intrusive either. Breakpoint received a lot of hate for trying to unlock the grind of the game behind paywall purchases. These were not necessary for me, as I like the grind on these games, but totally understand why some don't. One of the things I absolutely love in Wildlands is how busy the world feels, with vehicles driving around all over the map, sometimes obviously getting in your way, but it feels totally realistic for that to happen in this environment, especially, considering it's in Bolivia and there's civilians everywhere. It's great. I mean, how many times, honestly, have you killed civilians for driving off in the car you were about to get into? You desperately needed a car, you run for one, and someone's driven off in it. Come on, you've done it. We've all done it. Breakpoint for me could actually use more NPCs in the world. I know the story doesn't call for it, but I do believe it would improve immersion. Now, as I've already said, I adore this game. I wish the stealth was better, and I think Breakpoint's really improved the stealth mechanics with the prone camo and better awareness overall, being able to approach enemies closer before they see you. But there's not much I would have added apart from the few things they did put into Breakpoint, such as, cutting wire fences, carrying and dropping dead bodies, etc. Wildlands is perfect for some no-HUD milsim action too. Yes, it doesn't have the survival mechanics that Breakpoint added with injuries and fatigue, but currently they've not been integrated as well as they could have been, and I believe we will see a kind of ghost mode in Breakpoint where they become much more important to the core game. So let's touch on the Wildlands DLC now. So firstly, we got Narco Road. Now, I have had some fun in Narco Road, don't get me wrong, but for a realistic military kind of simulation game, it wasn't really what I wanted. Yeah, I had fun running people down in a monster truck and getting on that llama bike, but I wish you could have used them in the main game too. But Narco Road just kind of felt flat to me. Kind of like, I don't know, you know, too many beans on your beans on toast doesn't make your beans on toast better. Adding some cheese onto your beans on toast makes your beans on toast better. Does that make sense? Maybe not. I know what I'm talking about. Right. Well, anyway, forget that. Narco Road was what it was. And then obviously we got the amazing, and I mean amazing, Fallen Ghosts, and this I absolutely adored in droves. Every mission was an absolute blast, facing new enemies which were a real threat. All 4 classes with differing abilities which could hinder your approach to a mission. And talking of missions, try the last mission on the bridge. On the hardest setting. I mean, holy moly, that is hard, but worth the challenge. Seriously, give that one a go if you haven't. And if you haven't got the Fallen Ghosts DLC, I highly recommend it. I was really hoping for more DLC like Fallen Ghosts, but alas, we didn't get it, which is a shame, as I could have happily kept giving Ubisoft my money for them. They gave us crates with gear in them and that you could unlock free ones after completing community objectives, which was cool, but I wanted DLC. Now, like the recent Terminator event in Breakpoint, check out our channel for all you need on that event. Wildlands gave us Predator, and my God, did they capture the spirit of that first movie with this mission. Still to this day, that Predator mission is one of my favourite missions of all time, let alone just in Wildlands. So, no new DLC, but Ubisoft kept updating the game with bug fixes and adding new missions like the Splinter Cell, the Future Soldier missions, Rainbow Six Siege missions, and of course the Cole Walker introduction missions after Breakpoint was teased. And they were all really enjoyable. I mean, the Snafu mission for the Future Soldier missions, for example, was a real challenge and a highlight of how much fun these could be and keeping the game fresh, which added to the game's life cycle, of course. Community challenges were another fun mode with less action sometimes and more investigation needed. And these were seriously challenging, and personally I found them really intriguing, whether it was the hunt for the Yeti with clues plastered around the snowy areas of the map that had people guessing for months before it went live, or the Cult of El Tio mission that required detective work to solve and was kind of creepy too. And of course, there was the Witches Challenge and a few others thrown in for good measure. So now the final update has landed a few weeks back, kind of finalising and closing the door on this game. What do we think? What do you think overall of Wildlands? Do you wish Breakpoint was more Wildlands 2 with those added extras I mentioned? Or do you like the drones and the enemy levels that are rooted into that game? I personally like both. I would have preferred human enemies with like tanks and heavily armored vehicles instead of drones, or at least instead of the drone tanks. I can't actually believe that we've never had a tank to drive in Wildlands or Breakpoint. No, we haven't. Come on, Ubisoft, give us a tank, please, in either game or both. I want a tank. And with that, this video is going to come to an end. I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching it. It's really, really appreciated. Remember, this is just my opinion. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think of Wildlands? What do you think Breakpoint could or should have been? Please leave a comment below. Discuss at will. I'd really love to hear it. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again. Bye.